Hey everybody, Tony Banta here, and today we are going to talk about the 5 metrics you need to track if you want to maximize client success and your profit. Let's dig into it. Welcome to the Client Whisperer Show. I'm your host, Tony Banta, and I am the Client Whisperer. I've spent over a decade running multiple 6- and 7-figure client businesses, and I've learned that the secret to success in a client business comes down to one thing: leadership. Bad client behavior is the enemy, and with the right curriculum, infrastructure, and mindset, you can lead your clients to great success and scale your business the easy way. Okay, so 5 metrics. Can it really be that simple? Well, it is really that simple. Because, as we just talked about in the last episode about metrics, and we talked about the difference between KPIs and critical success factors, CSFs versus KPIs. Critical success factors are the broad areas that you need to look at to be successful. Key performance indicators, or KPIs, are the specific metrics within those that you need to track. So in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the 5 critical success factors, to be more specific, because your business is going to be different. So I don't want to give you a cookie cutter answer for the exact KPI that you need to use in your business, although some of them will be readily apparent, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we dig into each one. But I will be talking about the 5 critical success factors. And those are ones that you can look at no matter what kind of business you are. These are the 5 critical factors. Now, there are 2 assumptions that I am making. I'm making one assumption that you have a client business. If you don't have a client business, what are you doing listening to this show? Right? Doesn't make sense to me. So, number 1, client business. I think it's just us now that have client businesses. The assumption that I'm making, number 2, is that you have some kind of client retention. That if you have a program-based model, that after your initial program, you have something to sell them to go into a continuation program. If you do not have something like that, or if you've tried to have a continuation program or to have client retention in the past and you've struggled with that, it might be a good idea to talk to us about an audit. We generally have a wait list on our audits, although we're coming up to a launch where we'll have some open enrollment starting this week, actually. So if you would like us to look at your business specifically and you'd like us to audit your business, looking at some of these metrics, but also some of the subjective things around your client fulfillment that only myself and our team see, because we're trained to hunt out these friction points in your process, just like truffle sniffing pigs. Hashtag truffle sniffing pigs, I think, is what you want to call us. We can dig into your business and look for those areas if you'd like us to. So yeah, let us know about that. You can grab a link in the show notes or go to clientsuccesscall.com to find out more information. So back to 5 critical metrics. That assumption that I was mentioning, that you have something to sell, this of course holds true for anyone that has a subscription-based business, where you're tracking and looking at retention, but also program-based businesses, as long as you have that back end to sell. So 5 critical metrics. The first one is sales. Now, you may be saying, why do we want to look at sales in the context of client retention, client success, and profitability? Well, sales, the way that we look at it, sales are the beginning of your funnel. So we look at fulfillment as a funnel. Just like your marketing is a funnel that leads someone into the sale, we see your fulfillment as a funnel that leads clients to the point where they're ready to buy more. They're ready to continue, or they're ready to buy more. And when you look at it that way, it's really easy to optimize because that's how we optimize things when we're talking about sales, right? When we're talking about marketing. Everyone who's sold anything understands that idea of a funnel, and you can maximize that funnel. It's very hard to get to 6 figures and almost impossible to get to 7 figures if you don't have a funnel of some kind and if you haven't optimized that at least a little bit. So, number 1, we want to track the sales. This is the bottom of the funnel of your marketing and sales funnel, right? But it's actually the top of our funnel. It's the top of our funnel because it is the total number of people that we have a chance to transform, the total number of clients where we have a chance to transform them and lead them to that conclusion where they retain in our process. So, second key metric, the second critical success factor is dropout. Another way to think of this is premature cancellation or premature attrition. So dropout, we're looking at three things. We're looking at the number of people who have left before the end of the program. I don't really care for the sake of this whether they paid the entire amount or not. Certainly that's a critical number to know in your business in general. But in terms of this way of looking at your client fulfillment as a funnel, it almost doesn't matter. But total number of people who left before they finished, total number of people who defaulted on payments. So the credit card was maxed out, or they put a stop payment on their credit card. So you weren't able to actually charge them the second or third or however many payments you're making. Hopefully it's not more than 2 or 3. And then we also have the number of people who have disputed. So who have actually disputed a credit card charge. Critically important to track those as well. Third metric, third critical success factor is client skill activation. And if you're a service provider, if you have a done for you service, then this was the service provided. So if you're running ads, did you run ads, right? That's half of it. If you're that kind of service provider, you actually have 2 different things to track in this critical success factor of client skill activation. You need to track, did the client activate the skills that they need to be successful with your help? And did you actually provide the service? Both. You want to track that. What this is this is a lead indicator to the next critical success factor that we're going to track, which is client success. So this one, client skill activation and service provided, is what we like to call a lead indicator. And it's a lead indicator because client success you can only track looking backwards, but lead indicators you can track and make tweaks to your process as clients are going through. So it's really important that we get our arms wrapped around this lead indicator. When we help clients find a metric, this is often the number one metric that we help plug in, because the quicker that they can plug in a metric like this, they can give, whether it's just themselves or their team, they can apply a metric to how well is the client actually able to take action on what they've been taught, or how well is what you're doing for a client actually performing. So that is the most important metric, because when you can look at that, of course, zoomed out across all of your clients, but you can also zoom into a specific client and look at how well are they able to do what they need to do. So if you run a program that is, if you run a program around health coaching, around meal coaching. Now, everybody has different views and their own ideas about this, but broadly speaking, one of the activities that you might have your clients do is to track their meals, track what they're eating, and then record that in a meal log somewhere. Well, if they're tracking that and that's recorded somewhere, you can derive some metrics from that. You can derive some metrics like how many clients actually completed their food journal or their food log, right? That's a critical metric, right? Because if they're not tracking it, then they don't think that it's important enough for them to take seriously. And that's really good to identify. Next, you can ask a question like, how did you feel about food today? You can ask them questions like that. And that will dial in on how well they're feeling, how well they've absorbed the skills that you've taught them, and then how they're feeling, that subjective approach that they have. As much as you can, give them a drop down to these, because then you can manage those answers that are coming in, as opposed to if you give a free form answer, it's a lot hard to be able to quantify those answers that clients are giving. So that is the third critical success factor, client skill activation. The fourth is client success. Now, this would be the lag indicator if we think of the lead indicator as those leading the leading data that goes to predict what an outcome will be. The lag indicator is the outcome. So if you do health and nutrition coaching, then weight loss might be one of them. Or if you specifically get into, food addictions or disordered eating, then it could be a factor of tracking, how many days did have clients gone where they haven't had an episode of binge eating. That would be another lag indicator. Weight lost, episodes of disordered eating. If you're tracking those things, then you can track what's the number of days since they've had episode, or the weight lost across all clients. Super important to track this, by the way. I've seen so many coaches, consultants, service providers who don't ask their clients to tell them these kinds of answers. I was just working with a client last week, and as shocking as it is, they run ads for clients, and they don't ask clients to report the sales that they've made based on the ads that they're running. Well, if you don't know the sales that your clients are making for the ads that you're running, it's really strugglesome, right? It's really hard to be able to put a quantifiable ROI on the work that you're providing, and that's really important for you to know. So, ask those clients those questions, the lag indicators of client success. How much success are they achieving? As much as you can, get that on a continuum rather than a binary. So a continuum is, how many sales have you made this week? How much weight have you lost this week? A binary is, are you making sales, right? So are you making sales is only yes or no. It's really hard to understand the nuance that's going on in there. But when you're tracking that information on a continuum, it's a lot easier to get that data. And then the fifth and final metric is retention. How many of your clients as a percentage are actually rolling in to the back end of your program? Another super valuable number to look at is what's the percentage of your total revenue that's coming from reoccurring clients, as opposed to the total amount of your revenue being from front-end clients, from new clients. We've had many months in our company where our reoccurring revenue number has been 100%, where we haven't made a single new sale that month, but we've still had multiple 5-figure a month. How is that? How's that possible? Well, it's because we dial in that client retention. So sometimes we're going through a season. We've just gone through some of these seasons where my family had an addition. My daughter was born just when this episode will be going live, just a little over a month and a half ago. And so we went into a maintenance mode where we weren't selling very many new clients, but we were retaining a lot. So our percentage of revenue from that client retention was 100%. It's healthy to look at that percentage, and depending on the season of business that you're in, there's no way of giving you one definitive number that you should shoot for there as a percentage, because it's going to be widely dependent on just the season that your business is in. But tracking that retention across a few of those areas is going to be vitally important. With those 5 metrics, you can get a picture of the entire health of your business from an operation standpoint, from the time that they become a client to the time that you're fulfilling on what you've promised them in your marketing and in your sales, all the way to when you're ready to get on the phone with them and get them to make that decision to re-enroll in another program or into a continuation program where they can spend more and more time with you. So those are the 5 critical metrics, the 5 critical success factors that you want to track in your client business if you want to maximize client success and your profit. Talk soon.